What's up, US history? How is everyone doing today? It was super awesome to see you yesterday and to spend a little bit of time. Yesterday, we got to talk about Christopher Columbus, and we got to talk about whether the United States should celebrate Columbus Day. I enjoyed reading some of your responses, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about that a little bit later, to sort of give us an opportunity to start talking about the rest of the unit as a whole. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can begin today's class. So our new title for the unit that we are going to be using moving forward is Three Worlds Collide. It is our first unit for US history this year. And that doesn't make sense to you yet, but by the end of today, I'm excited to share more with you what it means. So today, day 2, we are previewing the phrase three worlds collide. But first, we're going to start with our morning meeting. So we have a few games to play for our morning meeting today. All of you are going to figure out what order you are in based off of certain criteria. So for the first one, you will put yourselves in order from alphabetical order by last name, starting at A, going to Z. Then you will do it from your first birthday of the year to the last birthday of the year. Who has the first birthday? Who has the last birthday? From January to December. Along with shoe size, smallest to largest, and which one of you is the slowest in running, and which one of you is the fastest. Now, don't actually test this, but just what you think. So, we are going to go ahead and pause the video. You all are going to discuss this and make sure at least one person sends me a message of these final answers. All right. So, thank you everyone for doing that morning meeting. Our daily objective for the day is I can explain the Three Worlds Collide Museum project by brainstorming a list of need-to-know questions. So as a little bit of a warm-up, I want all of you to pick a partner. There will be one group of 2, one group of 3. And I want you to spend a few minutes discussing how did Columbus and the Spanish affect the indigenous people that they encountered. Remember, indigenous is another name for Native American. So how did Columbus and the Spanish affect the indigenous people or the Native Americans that they encountered? Ready, go. Alrighty. So the way this class works, I told you a little bit about it last week, but I'm going to give you a good example now with how we are beginning. Instead of just doing a unit of learning where I give you lectures and you write down notes and then you take a test, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. At the end of the unit, instead of taking a test, you will be completing a project. Okay? And this project that you will be completing is called Three Worlds Collide, an early American museum. So in the early days of what became the United States, there were 3 groups of people who were present. The first were the English settlers. They were the Europeans who came to North America to start colonies. There were the indigenous Americans, or the Native Americans. These were the people who lived in North America before the Europeans got there. But there was a third group of people present as well, a group of African slaves, people who were stolen from their homes in Africa and brought to the Americas to work really terrible jobs in really terrible conditions, and all against their will. They did not even have ownership of their own selves. So, we are going to be learning about these three groups of people over the next few weeks, but we're going to do it in a fun way. Your job, so you all have been made in charge of the next great American museum in the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. You all will be creating it. The theme of the museum is Three Worlds Collide. The museum must tell the story of how these three cultures, the English settlers, the indigenous Americans, and the African slaves, how they interacted to create the culture of the early British colonies in North America. So your final product as a group will be to create a museum exhibit with high quality visuals, symbols, and explanations that match the museum's themes, these themes of three worlds collide. Okay? There will also be an individual final project where you will, on your own, in writing, summarize the important themes from your museum exhibit. Okay? Now, there's a big decision that all of you need to make. You have two choices for this project. Because there are only 5 people in the class total, you have two choices. Number one, you can do this project in small groups. One group of 2 people and one group of 3 people. Okay? This way, each one of you is responsible for creating your own museum exhibit. Each group is responsible for their own museum exhibit. But there is another choice. You could all choose to do the project together. 5 people in one group. Now here's the thing. If you choose all 5 people in one group, I didn't write this down on the slide because I wanted to tell you. If you choose all 5 people in one group, I will expect your work to be of a higher quality than if you do it in 2 small groups. Meaning, I will expect a better museum exhibit, I will expect better individual work, and you all will need to work a little bit harder to still get a good grade. Just because you choose 5 people isn't going to make your life easier. You will then have higher standards and higher expectations for the group. So, really quickly, we're going to pause this video, and all of you are going to discuss and decide which option you want to choose. When you have decided, we will press play on the video again, but have someone please send me a message as to whether you chose to do small groups or to do the project all together. Ready, go. I'm excited to learn what your decision is. The thing that we are going to do with the rest of class is we are going to come up with need-to-know questions about this project. I just gave you a huge project that was very vague, okay? Now, I expect you to have a lot of questions about this project. And so this is going to be your opportunity to ask those questions. First of all, what are need-to-know questions? What do I mean by that? A need-to-know question is, with the project in mind, What do you need to know about the unit so you can complete the final project? You might not know, you probably do not know a lot, okay? You don't know what content you're going to need to know. You don't know much about the English settlers or the indigenous people or the African slaves. And you also probably don't know much about the project itself, what the expectations for you are going to be. So you are going to ask these questions, and we are going to spend the rest of these next few weeks trying to answer them through lectures and activities and research. There are 3 rules when it comes to need to know questions. 1, I need you to come up with as many questions as you can. 2, I need you to know that no question is a bad question. If you're wondering something, if you don't know something, someone else probably doesn't know that as well, even if they're not willing to admit it. So come up with as many questions as you can. No question is a bad question. And change every statement into a question. It is really important here that what you are putting forward are questions, okay? So if you have a statement where it is, I don't know anything about African slaves, or I don't know how the African slaves got to the United States, then you would change that into a question. How did the African slaves get to the United States? Okay. So these next steps, what we're going to do for the rest of class, choose a partner, brainstorm a few need to know questions yourself in your little group. After a few minutes, Teacher Maypo will write down all the questions that you can think of on the board. Okay? And we will keep these questions in mind. We will save these questions and we will remember them for the rest of the unit. I hope to see a lot of questions from all of you. Okay? So, with all of that being said, thank you for being here today. Thank you for doing your best. And I'm excited to see you back here tomorrow with all of your need to know questions created. Bye, everyone. I'll see you later.